Alright, hello everyone, my name is Annika and thank you again for coming to my channel. Today we have a special guest.
My name is Deanna Glover.
And we'll be talking about some serious topics that we are both very passionate about. We're going to be talking about Black Lives Matter, gun control, police violence, and other forms of racism that's going on in the nation today. This is very different from my regular stuff. I usually do movie reviews and everything, but I really want to talk about this today on my channel. So please stay tuned with us for the next 30 minutes, and I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself. Take it away.
So to open this up, I just want to start off with a quote by James Baldwin. And the quote reads, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And see, I say that because right now what we are looking for is some type of form of change because of so much police brutality that has been going on. All the senseless and reckless violence and deaths that's been also going on. And basically because it's our topic that we're talking about today. We're going to start off because the topic that me and Annika both, wanted to touch on is Black Lives versus the All and the Blue Lives Matter, which has been out here, and it's like, it's just ridiculous that people are taking something that, was supposed to basically, help people, from what I understand, get their message out there about, the police brutality. It's being played with now when we say all lives matter or blue lives matter. Yes, indeed, all lives do matter, but you don't go to a breast cancer awareness race and say, we're not going to just talk about breast cancer, we're going to talk about all cancers. You don't do that. So I don't think you should, take the term, Black Lives Matter and say, well, so do blue lives or so do all lives. You shouldn't do that as well. So, again, I don't think we should, just play with the terms because it's not something that's interchangeable because Black lives are different than all lives. We are lives that, haven't always been considered lives. It took a while for us to get that consideration and get that acknowledgement that we were people. So that's why the Black Lives Matter thing and the All Lives and Blue Lives Matter, that's why they don't, coincide. That's why they don't, these aren't things that are relatable. Because, I'm sorry, with blue lives, you cops, you weren't oppressed. Now, some people who are cops, who may be black, they were oppressed people. They are a part of the oppressed people, but you weren't the people, whose lives didn't always matter. You aren't the lives who are targeted now. I'm sorry. You're not the ones who look like these are the ones that we should be killing. You aren't the ones who fit the descriptions. So we shouldn't use that term to say blue lives or all lives matter. This is, as we say, white people aren't the ones who are also targeted. They're not the ones who, are the ones who are sought after in, any situation. They're not. They're not the ones who are just being killed. They're the ones who, crazy stuff like them shooting up schools or shooting up churches or them shooting up clubs. In the cases where they're not shot up, they're either walking away free or they killed themselves, or they're just sitting in jail. Whereas though, for some reason, when it's a black person, we're shot up, we're killed, and that's how life is supposed to be dealt with, apparently. That's what it's making it seem like, that these things are okay, but it's not. And that's what we're basically just here to address with our first topic. So I'm going to let Annika talk on this a little more now.
Deanna's so funny. You make me laugh. Okay. She's trying to be serious. Okay, I'm going to be serious too. Yeah. I'm going to go into the Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter movement. I feel like most people who, whenever they hear the Blue Lives Matter, when they jump in and say All Lives Matter, in my experiences, they tend to majority be white. I think they just don't understand it at all, and some of that is not their fault. Some of it is. I think if you choose to remain ignorant, I don't really have much of a sympathy for you. But the Blue Lives Matter, all we're trying to do is get the majority, the white people, to understand that our lives do matter in the world, and we don't want to be marginalized, oppressed, and victimized anymore by systemic racism, by your violence towards us, police brutality. We're saying, hey, we are people. Please learn to value our lives and value our bodies. Please stop killing us. The Blue Lives Matter movement, which me and Deanna talked about earlier, I really don't understand it. I wish I did. I just don't. I don't understand the movement at all, and I don't want to be rude towards cops. 'Cause I have respect for cops. I just think the Blue Lives Matter movement, it's out of left field. Like, it just seems irrelevant to me. Very irrelevant. It seems petty. I know you said earlier, like a tick for tack type of thing.
It's like apples for oranges.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. And I spoke about this with my Snapchat. I'll say it again. Cops can always quit being cops. If you don't want to be a cop anymore, you can go down to your station, put in your 2 weeks, your 2 months, whatever the hell you gotta do, and say, I don't want to be a cop anymore. Once you're no longer a cop, your life goes from being very dangerous to like regular people danger. Like it's not the same thing. And I know in light of the recent attacks in Dallas, which comes Saturday, it'll be a week since the whole Dallas thing happened. The guy who's at the Black Lives Matter peaceful rally, who was not affiliated with the Black Lives Matter, went out of his way to kill cops. He successfully killed 5 white cops, and he injured the rest. He was later put down or killed during that time. Like I said, I don't want to sound crass or ignorant, but this is just a classic case of what my nuts would say, the chicken's coming home to roost. This is nothing but a reaction to the constant just taking of black bodies over the past, we can say 2 years. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't justify it, and I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to make it okay, but are we really that surprised that someone went out of their way to kill white people? And especially white cops? I'm not surprised at all. I'm more surprised it took this long, because if everybody's so angry about it, Blue Lives Matter movement is only convenient in my eyes when something like this happens, the most extreme case, when you have someone that is purposely saying, hey, I'm going to go and kill some cops. That's wrong. However, where does the Blue Lives Matter movement come into play when it's just a regular day at your job and you so happen to get murdered while you're doing the regular shit on your job, and you're responding to domestic violence, or you're responding to a robbery going wrong? Where does Blue Lives Matter come into play there? It doesn't, because it has no reason to fucking be there in the first place. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a slippery slope type of movement that I think holds no validity and just a little stupid.
It's also where the all lives matter comes into play, because all lives aren't treated how black lives is treated.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, as a cop, you can quit your job. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to go in there. But as a black person, you can't quit being black. You don't quit being black. You can try to personify or put on this show, or change your character, change things about yourself to try to make yourself more accepted, but
mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, your skin is still black. So with that being said, talking about the cop shooting that happened last week, honestly, me and Annika, we were just in New York, and we kind of woke up to that. We woke up to I woke up to hearing the news because she was watching the news. We were sharing a hotel room. She's watching the news, and I think really what woke me up was when they compared this to 9/11. And honestly, I was just myself. I was like, this is not serious. Like, you can't compare this to 9. Like, I was really personally offended. Like, I know no one who was in 9/11, that the record show. I don't know anybody who was affected on 9/11. I'm pretty sure someone does know somebody was affected by 9/11. But I was just like, how do we compare this to 9/11? If anything, let's compare Orlando to 9/11, where 50 people were killed. That's a massacre. This was 5 officers. I'm not trying to say let's take any lives for slight. I'm not saying that lives don't matter, because lives were taken, and that is something that we should still address. But at the end of the day, comparing something like this to 9/11, where thousands of lives were taken and thousands of lives were taken during towards a terroristic threat, that's something that you just don't compare. Like, honestly, the club in Orlando was more of a terroristic threat because this man pledged to ISIS. So that's terroristic. This man who killed these people had no affiliation with this movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. They had no affiliation with ISIS. This man was somebody who was just mad and angry and felt like he was not being heard, or felt like, black people are not being heard when we say we want justice. Because at the end of the day, we're not fighting for, we're not fighting so that we can just be heard. We're not fighting just so that we can be plastered on TV. We're not fighting so that we get a little bit of time in the limelight. We're fighting because at some point we're still being held down. And at some point we're still being looked at not equally when it comes to the way the cops decide to handle things. The cops decide to handle situations with African American people totally differently than how they handle it with anybody of Asian descent, anyone of Caucasian descent, anyone of any other race or nationality. They choose to take all black people and handle us the same way, but they don't handle other people the same way. Like, I don't understand how, people can go and just, or white people, I'm sorry to say, but white people can go into a church or a building or a school and shoot it up and be taken out peacefully in handcuffs.
In handcuffs? I know you guys had to have seen, it would be the same time this year, the AME shooting with the white guy who went in and killed the 9 just followers of Christ. Like, they're just going there for fucking Bible study. And he kills them, and they're holding his arm, you come with us. Had that been a person of color, black, brown, Mexican, Latino, African American, it wouldn't have been that civil. It just wouldn't have been. It would have been, we're going to kill you on sight. If you're going to kill us on sight, kill that guy on sight. And I'm not condoning murder. It's just equality just needs to come up there. And to go back to the 9/11 references, that shit just kills me. It's do you have no respect for New York City and for the nation? 9/11, I know I was in the 2nd grade in 9/11, and for the guy who said on the news, I woke up in Dallas, I woke up and felt 9/11. How the fuck did it feel 9/11 when 5 people died? Dude, I'm just confused. Do people remember 9/11?
I know that he was a police chief, but seriously, how do you even feel a comparison, sir? And I don't mean to call anyone out, but how do you feel a comparison? Because I felt no comparison. When 9/11 happened, I was pulled out of my classroom, and I was told I had to go home.
They were shutting down stuff. I know at the time, my mom worked for IRS and my dad worked for Social Security, and they were pulling kids out. And 9/11 happened very early in the morning. It was 9 a.m., 9:30 maybe. Quote me if I'm wrong, but if you watch a video, the time is usually very early in the morning that happened. So
I feel like this is definitely no comparison. I feel like, that was just something that was just a term that was totally used so loosely. And I just, it was just...
And they're using it so loosely to the point where it's it almost mocks 9/11. It almost makes 9/11 seem funny. They were still finding bodies when they were building the Freedom Tower. That's how horrible 9/11 was.
And this was no comparison.
No, I'm pretty sure
because 5 officers, we found those people. Those people were there. I actually watched the video, where the one guy is actually shot down, which they said was kind of gruesome. I don't think the video was gruesome. This man was shot down. I'm sorry to say, but I feel like if I ever watched 9/11, that was gruesome.
That's gruesome.
That's
seeing people jump to their deaths.
I feel like what the media has done with this situation is they've taken it to twist it. And I'm not saying that, we're not in the wrong, or this guy who did this is not in the wrong. He is.
Totally.
But at the end of the day, I like how the cop story has come out on top, whereas though there are still two men who were killed. These two men, this one guy was pulled over in his car. I'm pretty sure, even if there was a kid in his car.
Yeah, it was a kid in the back seat.
So you feel, why do you as a police officer feel comfortable enough to pull out a gun and put it to somebody when there's a kid in the car?
Like, this goes into an issue of morality for me, and I'm just like, I've studied the police culture in college, and I understand it's just totally different once you become a cop, and that type of persona you put on yourself once you join the force. But it's just like, child in the back seat, guy in the front seat, his girlfriend in the passenger seat, you decided to shoot him, I think in his arm, and he bled to death. Like, what kind of person, aside from what kind of cop are you, what kind of person are you to do that? Like, where's your moral ethics when you decide to pull that trigger in front of a child? Like, I get it, you don't give a fuck about him, but the kid, that is just like, well, damn. Ugh, it's just...
Even if this man was asked to step out the vehicle and he did not, he refused, I feel as though I've seen videos where cops have brutally pulled people out of cars. There's actually a video, I'm pretty sure everyone knows the video I'm referring to, where this cop has bust open this lady's window, opened the door, and pulled a man out of the car. And this little baby is in the back crying. It's a baby in the car again. Baby's crying. But at the same time, the cop, whoever was in charge of that is brutality. But he did not shoot this man. He did not shoot this man. So I feel like there was no right for this man to pull out his gun. There was no right. Mm-hmm. But this is also where I get into the topic where cops, sometimes I feel like they let emotions, they let feelings, they let personal things going on in their personal lives affect them on a job. Mm-hmm. And I mean, granted, we all are human, but as it says in theater, you should never break character. And I feel like when you're in that suit and you're wearing that, that uniform, that you should know that you are supposed to abide by the laws as well as enforce the laws. And I feel like cops tend to just enforce and they don't abide by them. Mm-hmm. And I feel as though that in that situation, how everyone says, this has been a new saying that cops need to start checking cops. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
They need to.
It's very true. And it's like sometimes if there's a cop in a situation, because there's always the one cop who decides to pull out the gun. There's always that one cop. Mm-hmm. And there's always that one cop that just decides to pull the trigger. And there's always that other cop who's standing there watching this go on. When you see that happen as an officer, that's when you need to sit there and check yourself and say, wait, hold up, before you do that, do we need to do that? Because this man really pose a threat. Mm-hmm. Does this man really look like or seem like he is about to harm us? But I feel like cops aren't doing that.
They're not.
And I feel like if cops were doing that, it wouldn't be an issue of, so many deaths with, cops and guns, basically cops killing people. That wouldn't be the issue.
I feel like also, go back on what you said, if we had more cops standing up to other bad cops and saying, hey, this is wrong, they can also help the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, we need cops to openly say, hey, I'm for Black Lives Matter movement, because you realize that police brutality is a part of the problem that Black Lives Matter is trying to tackle. You know what I'm saying? Here it is, like, I even spoke on this on the Snapchat. For the cops who are complacent and who aren't saying anything, you look like you don't care. You look like you're okay with what's going on. And I'm trying to be open-minded and understand that it's probably hard to stand up to your fellow cop and say, hey, you shouldn't have shot that guy. Because you don't want to be an outcast. No one wants to be like a black sheep, especially in the police force. That's probably the worst thing you want to be. But at the same time, the media, the people are coming down on the police force. Like, you guys are under so much scrutiny. This is the perfect time, I feel like, to come out and say, hey, I'm different and I want to make a difference and I don't want to stand by my fellow comrades who are trigger happy and killing every damn body instead of staying beside them. Because if you're quiet, you're complacent, and you're no better, at least in my eyes, you're no better than the person who pulled the trigger. You might as well do it your damn self because you don't simply want to stand up. You don't want to make a change. And I really want the cops to be on the same side as Black Lives Matter because it would really help the movement, you know, to have the government or have at least, you know, the city law on our side. Like, you feel comfortable policing our demonstrations, but you don't want to come out and say, you know what, yeah, Black lives do matter. Even for the black cops, I mean, there's studies out there that say cops of minorities are even harsher on their minorities because they don't want to look like they're being too sensitive when they're in front of their white partner. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that too. You don't want to like look like you're letting anyone go. But at the same time, don't forget, like, this white cop has more authority than you could ever have. So you need to really stand up and, oh God, but stand up and just say something. Because I don't believe, I guess we speak both of us on this one, I don't think we believe all cops are bad. Like, I really don't believe that. Like, we're mature enough to identify that there's some good and bad cops, but the bad always outweighs the good. And that's simple, like grade school shit. When you're in class and someone does something stupid and the teacher punishes everybody. You know, it's not about the individuals, but the group. As a group, you all look very bad together.
Yes.
That's what it looks like.
And I feel like that's where people mistake it. But I'm glad that you made that, you know, you used that analogy, because at the end of the day, I feel like that's what the cops and that's what the media is missing that we're saying. Mm-hmm. Because for some reason, I don't know why, but it's so easy for, you know, the media to portray black people as all one type of person. But once we do it to the law enforcement, it's everyone wants to be on the defense of the cop. And it's like, okay, well, now we need to get everyone on the defense of the black person, because not every black person is ignorant. Not every black person is violent. Not every black person is dangerous. Not every black person poses a threat once they're, you know, pulled over or once they're approached by a police officer. A lot of situations, the threat is posed first. And there's always three sides to a story. That's, you know, my side, your side, and the truth. And at the end of the day, it is facts that, you know, we do see one-sided videos, because I will say, you know, in some situations where we don't know if this man was really just selling CDs. I actually watched a video where this lady, you know, she was actually going off on what was going on and why, you know, the guy Alton was, you know, shot or whatever. I also think that a lot of things she said was ignorant, because it was just pure ignorance. But we don't know if that's just what he was doing. We don't know if before that he posed a threat to someone else. We don't know that this police officer really tried to restrain him. We don't know if he just, you know, was like, I'm tired of this, I don't feel like fighting right now, I'm just gonna shoot you. We don't know that. We don't know that. And honestly, with the thing that we do know is that a lot of cops aren't, you know, dealt with properly by the judicial system. I know that one thought could be, if I do this, I might not get in trouble. Because the way the system is set up is just cops don't get in trouble for some reason. So, with that being said, you know, I think that we can always nip this at the bud if we find the foundation of what the problem is. And honestly, the foundation of the problem isn't just police and what they're doing and bad policing. The foundation of the problem is, why do police, as well as regular people, really need guns? Why do we really need these things? Because honestly, if I'm not mistaken, when the Constitution was written, those were things that they needed then, because we were constantly under attack. The United States was just founded by Columbus, and yes, quote unquote founded. It was founded by Columbus, and Britain wanted it. So they were constantly under attack. Yeah, they needed some type of, you know, ammunition to keep what they wanted to be theirs. If not, then things probably would be different now. But saying that is no longer the issue. That is no longer, you know, the problem. why is it that we still need to involve guns in everyday life? Personally, I feel like, the thing that is always stressed is equality. And I know I should not always feel equal with my authority figure, but once it comes down to my life, I feel like I should feel equal to my authority figure. I feel like I should understand, because it is instilled in me that this person is a figure of authority. Just how when you go to work and you know that your boss is the authority, you know that you can't do certain things when this boss comes around, because you know that there's certain consequences to your actions, so you don't do those things. So I feel like if we can instill that same type of respect, or even if it's fear, into people with just the uniform and the badge of a police officer, what does the gun really need to be there for? Because at the end of the day, any police officer who approaches me has the right, because he has the right to bear arms, has the right to also take my life. And that is not equality when I don't have that equal right. And that's just my opinion on it. I feel like, guns should be used. Yes, we probably do need them, in cases of stuff like ISIS, other, countries trying to do terroristic things. That is facts. But at the end of the day, we also have an army, an air force, a national guard, FBI, people of higher authority who handle those situations. Whereas though on the street, police officers are of higher authority, but you pose more of a threat to my life. Honestly, anytime I'm pulled over, my one thing is that I'm thinking is I don't want to lose my life today. And I feel like that shouldn't be something that you think when you're getting pulled over. It should be, I don't want to get a ticket today.
It's bad.
But it's to the point where, because I'm an African American person, I just automatically think I just don't want to lose my life today.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually said it to cops. I've said to cops, I'm sorry, I don't know what I did. I want to keep my hands here because I don't want to lose my life today. If you will allow me, I will reach for my personal belongings to give to you.
And that's horrible. I know my brother called me while we were still in school during spring semester. He goes to high school, and EJ, he's like 6'3", and he's tall, like black guy or whatever. He's going to school. He gets to school really early. There's a Dunkin' Donuts right across from his high school, and he always goes there just like to hang out until school starts. He got there early. The lady was opening up Dunkin' Donuts as he got there. She let him sit down. The cop came in and said, "Well, what are you doing here?" At this time, it's like the beginning of winter, so he had a hoodie on. Typical, like, he must be a suspect because he's black and wearing a hoodie. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just hanging out in Dunkin' Donuts." So the police officer asks the Dunkin' Donuts lady, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm good." It's like, "Are you sure? Is he bothering you?" It's like, "No, like, he comes here all the time. I let him in." Cop turns to my brother again. "Well, why are you even here? She just opened up." And while he's talking, he has his hand on the gun. And it's like, my brother called me, he's like, "I guess this is it, R.I.P." Like, the fact that he was already comfortable knowing that he could die right now. Just because he came to Dunkin' Donuts too early. And the lady that runs it was taking up for him, like, no, like, he comes here all the time, and it's no big deal. Like, little incidents like that turn critical. And he's telling me this on the phone, I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, my brother could have died today. I should have just been happy to hear his voice, but I'm literally like, oh my god, he should have died. He could have died. The fact that my brother was okay knowing that he might die right now because he's at fucking Dunkin' Donuts is like, and that's the power, that's the backlash of the whole police brutality thing for me. It's just like, why do you need to put your hand on your gun while you ask a young man why is he at Dunkin' Donuts? Why does that make you feel like a bigger man?
And see, that's also where some people, I do believe some men, I'll say personally, because honestly, it's yet to really be a situation where I've seen a female in this, where I have not yet seen a female that has killed, somebody of African American descent, or somebody in general. Just, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please add, a comment. Please add the link. Please, add the news clip. Please add it if I'm wrong. But it's always like, for some reason, this white authority male who feels that they're either being disrespected, or they feel like, you know, they don't have control over the situation. And that's where it just, it shifts. Because my thing is, if you don't have control over a situation in your own home, do you grab your gun? Because these people, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not saying all of them probably don't, but they probably do. But you have a family. If not a family, you have kids. In this situation, things always, in situations with families, things always happen. They do. It's always some type of argument. No family's perfect. Every family has an argument at least once. Arguments happen, fights break out. When these fights break out, just because you're an off-duty cop, the fact that you still have that pistol, do you still grab that? Because I feel like if you don't grab that when you are in a setting which is your own, why do you grab that in a setting where a gun is not even in someone else's possession? And even if it is to where a gun is in somebody else's possession, why is it that you have to just automatically take this person out? Why is it that?
I also think, because you're correct. Correct is both of them wrong. I haven't heard of a woman doing this to anyone either. I don't know if this goes into like hyper masculinity, like if we are hitting in that territory where male cops feel the need to always exert their dominance, and the only way to do that is with a pistol. Like, I don't know, but I think that's very interesting that we haven't really. Hold on. Finish this.
I think it's just interesting how we haven't, really heard it. We haven't really heard that, female cops are the ones that are doing the killing. And there are female white cops, there are also female black cops, but it's interesting how we also don't hear that these black cops are the ones doing the killing as well. Now, I'm not saying that, white male cops are wrong or they're bad or whatever it is. But I just feel as though they take situations to extreme when it comes down to dealing with the African American person. And they just, it's that instilled systematic racism that's there. And it's like, you may not be racist on the outside, but for some reason I always feel as though white people feel as though this is my world, I'm allowing you in it. And something that my dad, says to me is, so many black people think that they've won or they've overcome. And it's to the point where it's like we did think that. And I mean, I hope it is a did at this point, because we haven't. And we thought that when we got a black president in office. But that has not changed anything. That has really not changed anything. It just really has made it to where we're more of a target, because now we pose more of a threat, because we can do things and exceed and be plastered to show that black people are not bad. They are educated. They are, people who can come up and be the president. And with that being said, I feel like that just poses some initial threat to white people. I feel like that just poses a threat to them. I feel like because they know of the things that we are capable of doing and the things that we can reach if allowed, because it's clearly our lives are being taken away. They're not really allowing us to get that far, but if allowed, they know that we can be just as great as them, but they will not allow us because they will just continue to oppress us.
Awesome. I also think not everybody wants equality. Like, equality feels like oppression to some people, so that's something that's also contributing as well. Are we going to go into final thoughts now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Final thoughts. in the final thoughts and wrapping this up, one thing I really didn't touch on, but I did see was like a lot of people have these shirts or they're posting these quotes that say, "If Black Lives Matter, then stop killing each other." And that's true as well. That is true as well. And that is something that we need to really teach our youth, that guns are not toys, and guns are not things that you resort to when a situation gets harsh. Violence is not something that you should just resort to when a situation gets harsh. At the end of the day, we resort to these things because we're uneducated and you don't know how to deal with situations in any other manner. I feel as though if you get fired from your job, the first thing that you do is not say, "I want to fight" or "I'll kill my boss." You might say it, but that's not the first thing that you act on. So I feel like if we don't act on it in that situation, when a situation is approached to us where it's like any type of she stole my boyfriend, or he cheated on me, I feel like we shouldn't just be like, let's resort to violence. It's like, okay, I got hurt, let's walk away. And I only bring that into it because it's like, if violence wasn't an issue, then honestly we can really avoid some of these things, especially like with gun violence.
My response to that T-shirt, because I want to be petty right now, I'm not gonna lie. If all lives matter, stop going into schools and shooting up every fucking body. But I don't know. All lives don't matter, so we don't know. That was me being petty, but no. My final thoughts on everything that we talked about, and there'll be more to come. I would definitely say I really want people of privilege, white people, to really step aside themselves and evaluate whether or not they want their little sons and daughters to be treated the way the black body is treated in the U.S. Like really think about it. Like, do you want your kid to come home and tell you that a cop pulled me over and racially profiled me? Like, would you want that treatment? And if you don't feel comfortable with that treatment, then maybe once that epiphany happens, that's when I think you'll be able to understand the initiative behind Black Lives Matter. When you realize that you have a privilege that sets you aside from other people, that allows you to be detached from the harshness and gruesomeness that many black and brown people, African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics face on a daily basis, that you don't have to be subject to because of your whiteness. So those are my final thoughts.
I think those are good final thoughts. Basically, we said what we wanted to say here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but we as black people do, once one of us do something, it's a domino effect. We all represent each other. And I'm sorry to say that our culture is that way. Our culture isn't looked at as though, black excellence is there. We don't look at it like that for some reason. We try to show it when things like this happen, but we're not viewed that way. And it's some things that, in order to stop being, that racial profile, or to stop being that stereotype because of our ideologies and where we're from, then we actually have to do things to change that. And I mean, we do want change in the system, and people do say things like, if you want change in the system, be a part of the system, become police officers, or become, the Senate, become the president, become the Congress. And it's like, it's not that easy.
No.
Honestly, we have to start with ourselves. We have to start at home. We have to start, doing different things. We have to, I'm not saying come out your comfort zone, but we have to portray ourselves to where what we want to be portrayed as.
Definitely. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us, and if you have any comments, please comment below and subscribe either to your left or your right or under this video. We want to hear what you think. And if you have any ideas for what we should talk about next, this could become a new segment, a part of like the movie reviews I do, please let me know. Thank you. Bye.